The Twitter hashtag, I got to ask to repeat that. Again, it'll be hashtag SCN Luncheonar. All right, let's get going here. So Jen Harris is the Director of Communications for Arlington Public Schools in Arlington, Virginia. You may remember reading more about her in Kim Riedstatler's SCN feature article this past fall. As soon as I read that, I talked to Tom and I said, we got to get her for a luncheonar. Twitter always has so many questions. So we definitely want to talk to you. And then she brought in a couple members of her team, Gladys Bordone. Hello.
Hello.
And then Frank Bellavia. Did I get your names right this time?
It's Board One.
Oh, Board One. Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. She's all right with that.
So glad to have you guys here. Just real briefly, kind of explain your department, the size of it, and then what role each of you plays.
Okay, so I'm Jen Harris. I'm the Director of Communications, and I oversee the day-to-day activities of our team. We have an Assistant Superintendent of School and Community Relations. She is who I report to. Her name is Linda Ertis, and she has been here about 15 years. I've been here about 2, and I'm a fairly new position in the office. So the amount of time that I've been here is the amount of time they've had a director. Prior to that, the Assistant Superintendent was in charge of all of the work, both managing the superintendent up and managing the staff down. So I think my job has really been to manage the day-to-day, and then she manages, in her roles, a part of the executive leadership team and working directly for the superintendent. And I report to her on the rest of what's going on here every day. So we have 4 other staff working here in the Education Center, Frank and Gladys, who joined us. Frank is the media specialist, handling all news media. We have a huge media market here in the Washington, D.C. metro region. So that's quite a bit of a task, and he manages all the internal and external communications online, school talk to families, our electronic communications, anything I'm missing. That's a lot.
Staff newsletters.
Staff newsletters. So those go out every other week. Gladys is our family engagement coordinator. Is that correct? You want to talk a little bit about what you do?
Sure. So I'm the public information and community family engagement coordinator. I do a lot of outreach. So I go out to the community where they serve families, and I meet with them and bring the information to them, because those are already existing networks that are in place. And a lot of these are targeted communications. So it's our families, our immigrant families, families who may not speak English, families who may not have time or may not feel comfortable going to the school every single time. So we come to them. So I spent a lot of my time out in the community. I also work with a lot of leaders within the community and go to their events as well. So they support us by knowing a lot of what's going on in the schools, and I support them. I, meaning Arlington Public Schools, we support them, and then we have that mutual relationship. I also do registration, handle all the registration and first aid package stuff. I handle all of our big events around transitions, and then supporting social media and so many other things.
All right, and we also have Dawn Smith, who's a volunteer and partnerships coordinator. She manages and oversees all of the volunteer management activities, as well as the more than 500 partnerships that are in place with schools throughout our school division. She also handles a lot of special events as well. We also have a webmaster, Sarah Daniel, for the district. And then on the television, we have 3 full-time producers to manage the television.
I'm on a webinar.
Oh, okay.
Renee.
Yes.
I saw Renee on there. Renee,
They should have gotten a Honeywell.
I'm at home at my lunch break. I came quickly home so I could listen to you guys at my lunch break. So I may have to scoot out in a bit.
Okay, so Renee has joined us. She's one of our PR liaisons, where she joined us remotely. We have a network of more than 30 PR liaisons, one at each school and program. They receive a stipend annually to submit and share communications about their school's activities with the central office.
And I love that. Let's go ahead and oh, I'm sorry, Jen. Let's start with that. The school liaisons, especially, we have 5 buildings. You guys have what, 37?
Yeah.
Something along those lines. And so when you, I think every communications department, you guys have a larger communications department, and we obviously have a smaller one. How helpful is it to have those liaisons out there, and how do you utilize them? How do you find them? Because that might be a key in people getting their Twitter activity I would get up and rolling a little bit more.
So that's the key element of everything that we do. We started.
Are they in Start Smart or are they in K through 2? Okay, are you in?
Oh, if you guys are on, if whoever's on, if you can just hit the mute button, that will help.
I think they did.
Okay, I think we're good.
We have a PR liaison network, and there's one in each and every school and program throughout the school division.
Beginner or advanced?
For a long time, it was a volunteer-based position, so they did not receive any compensation. They volunteered their communications and news with us. And then starting in 2014,
10 a.m. to 11 at Douglas Elementary.
we transitioned to a paid stipend program. They receive anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 annually, depending on the level of school that they're working at.
Hello.
To share news and information with us.
Hey there, how are you?
I don't know who this is in the back.
Whoever is, I'm trying to look at the name here. We keep, somebody's phone conversation's about to be broadcast. Shardex00. You are not muted?
Holly?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Kim Sharda in Saugatuck.
Okay. I tried to mute everybody, but I could not. Oh, here we go. Got it.
Okay,
Sorry, Jen.
great. Hopefully I conveyed how that works. And then the PR liaisons are our full-time on the ground folks who share everything that's going on in their school through Twitter, through submission of news and photos to the central office that Frank will sort through and utilize for newsletters, for media communications, for social media. And then from there, that builds out our social media editorial calendar, our web, communications, our school talk communications. Basically, it's the source for all things news throughout the district. So without that connection directly to each and every school, I don't think we'd be nearly as successful as we are on all of our platforms.
And who selected them? What's the other
Oh,
question?
right. So who selected them? So that's up to the principal. They had to apply. They had a formal application process, and the principal selected or handpicked the person in each school. And then we have the applications on file here. We have merely go through a review process, but I do evaluate each and every PR liaison annually to give them feedback on areas that they're really strong in and the areas that we continue to see improvement that helps them on what they need to focus on and what could be more helpful to us as we move ahead. And we also give out an a series of awards at the end of each year. So that's been fun.
That's cool.
Another thing to go on with PR liaisons and how they're picked is it's not like the same person or same position in each school. It could be an assistant principal, it could be an office staff, it could be a teacher's assistant, instructional technology coordinator. So that it can be a wide range of people, counselor, teachers, like that. So it's not one specific.
Usually it's a person that has an interest in doing it, because that's the key. If they have an interest and a passion for what we're trying to accomplish, it'll be a much more successful endeavor on both ends.
Well, let's enter the Twitterverse, shall we? Twitter is such a big thing, but I think people are still treading lightly. Like there's just so many unknowns still, and I see that a lot with our parents. You see more people getting on. But the hashtag, that's always the big thing with Twitter. And talk to me about about how you decide on a good hashtag. What makes a good hashtag? When do you use a hashtag? One of those things. I mean, because those can be the powerful pieces of the tweet, right?
Right. So one of the things that we've done is we sit down on Mondays and plan an editorial calendar for the week. And in that process, we look at what we've got coming up, what events we have coming up, and we create hashtags around those. Sometimes they're as simple as APS Earth Day, or we follow a national hashtag like Hour of Code. And it just depends on what it is. The big thing we've done with hashtags is we wanted to create a brand around our hashtags. So last year we came up with APS is awesome, and that has been our main hashtag. And we use that for everything. When we have awards or we have events or something like that, we use APS is awesome. And it's just stuck, and it's been built through with our teachers, our administrators, and up on to our superintendent who uses it. So we come up with the hashtags, and like I said, they're pretty simple. It could be APS, whatever it is, and that's how we come up with our hashtags. We try to keep it short as well because you know it eats up your 140 characters, so you don't want it to be this really long hashtag that takes up 40 of your 100 characters. So we try to watch that as well.
We also train our PR liaisons. We do quarterly meetings with them. We do train them exactly on what Frank said, and then furthermore to search the hashtag before creating a hashtag so that you know that somebody else is not using it. That's very important. That might be a step that if you miss it, you will not be able, your hashtag campaign may not be successful because somebody else is already using it. And APS or, you know, whatever your acronym might be, could definitely belong to somebody else in some other country or some other state. So be sure to search for that hashtag. Another time is that if a department is having an event, they create their own hashtags as well. And we completely support that. Okay. We just make sure to follow these steps. But sometimes it comes from them, and we love that, and we completely support it. So we always ask, what's your hashtag? And if they don't have one, we help them out. But it's great when it can come from within.
Nice. And now someone had just chimed in too, and we were talking about the liaisons, and this kind of goes with just putting out tweets daily. Do your principals also tweet, or is it really mostly the liaisons, or is it anybody who wants to, basically, too?
It's a combination of both. 2 years ago, our superintendent encouraged staff to get on Twitter as a way to let the community inside of our schools to see what else is going on, what we're doing at any given moment in a classroom. And he has been a staunch supporter of that, and he tweets on a daily basis. Our assistant superintendents, and there's 7 of them, they all tweet as well. Our principals tweet, assistant principals, our Department of Transportation tweets. We have teachers that do it. So it's throughout the system. It's not just one person or one department or something like that. Schools have actually set up grade level Twitter accounts. Elementary school is a prime example. They have a first grade at Glebe, second grade at Glebe, and then somebody manages those Twitter accounts, and they tweet with those. So it could be a wide range of staff.
Okay. Obviously, Twitter has really taken off in your district. I want to kind of go back to the example that Kim had in her article with Jen, though, on the transportation department and their hesitation in the beginning of getting a Twitter account. Like, how do you tell people it's okay, you can have one? Like, it's not going to be a bad thing, because people are still hesitant to do that.
Yeah, so when we went to them, one of the first things that we told them and made them aware of is the leadership in the transportation department at that time. Their director was key. He was definitely hesitant, but he was key in letting his staff know that he was completely supporting their efforts in being out there on Twitter and providing the good news, because he was going to be unable to do that on his own. He needed his people to do it. So he really provided the leadership. He instilled trust in them. And that was really key for them, because they were afraid of making a mistake. And their director said, you know what, you have the good news. You go ahead and share it. And so once they had that, I think they felt really comfortable about it. They did say, what if they do this? What if they do that? What if? And so we said, we'll start with telling your great news. What do you do in the morning? What time do you get here? And that's exactly what they did. Their first photo was a beautiful photo at 5 a.m. And we said, you know, that the public will respect you for that. And that's exactly what has been happening. And actually, their staff is really young and spunky, and they're so creative. And they come up with just the funniest hashtags that just work for them, like the wheels on the bus go round. I mean, they're just so fun.
Right.
And I think people catch on to that, and they're passionate for their work.
Well, that's what connects with people too. Is
I'll
that
jump in too as a leader.
Personal thing.
I have said from the very beginning that trust is the foundation for everything. And if you're operating out of a place of fear, that means you don't inherently trust your staff to represent themselves well on the phone, in the front of the public eye, in emails. I mean, I treat that communication just like I would any other communication. We can be captured and recorded just about anywhere doing anything these days. So you can't operate from a place of fear. You have to have the best people on your team. You have to believe and trust that they will represent you well, which we know that they do. And then we set them free to communicate the good news. And that has been the reason that it's successful in my mind. I mean, the Twitter is a tool, but the foundation of everything is building a team that you can trust and depend on, and that you've trained well. So you know that they're going out and they're prepared to do a good job.
And you do provide that training for anybody, what to include, kind of how to formulate a good tweet, things like that, right?
Yeah, we've started, we've done trainings, so everything from how to create your Twitter account to just how to use Twitter. So it's basic 101 all the way up to let's talk about what kind of content to put in your tweets. So it's been a wide range, and we've done a lot of the how to create your Twitter accounts, what a hashtag, what a handle is, how to create your tweet and stuff like that, to what kind of content to use to make sure that most of your tweets include a picture, because that's more engaging to the end user than just 140 characters.
80% more.
Yeah.
So we use a photo or a video.
I also wanted to chime in here and say that we have a Social Media Matters column in every employee newsletter that goes out. And in that column, we share the latest and greatest tips and tricks from our team about how to use social media effectively. We've produced videos on how to use Twitter, how to use Facebook, how to Periscope. That's all publicly available as well. So I'd be happy to tweet out a link afterwards where you can find all of that content on our website if you'd like to share it or look at it yourselves.
That
And
would be fantastic.
we reported a teacher showing people how to use a hashtag, how to tweet. So she was dressed as Cindy Lou Who during Read Across America Day, and that happened the day we visited her classroom. So she was able to use that as an example. Those have been very effective ways for us to encourage the use of Twitter. And we actually put our hashtags in every newsletter bi-weekly, so everybody in the school division knows what hashtags we're using. The PR liaisons will be the first to know, but then everybody's informed of the hashtag campaigns on an ongoing basis, so they can all participate.
That link would be really helpful. Thank you. We did have one question come in when it's kind of concerning the hashtag. If you do duplicate another hashtag, is there any legal issue with that, or just really more of a practical problem of people?
More of a practical. I mentioned Hour of Code earlier.
Yeah.
We looked at trying to modify that for Arlington. It wasn't going to work for us. So we used Hour of Code. So when you search Hour of Code, you're going to see tweets from school systems across the country.
Well, and that's kind of the fun thing too, because then you're involved in a national campaign by highlighting yourself, right?
Yeah, and one of the things we do, and we've hosted a number of Twitter chats for our More Seats for More Students campaign, where we're growing at leaps and bounds, and we needed to build some new schools and change some boundaries, and so we hosted these Twitter town halls, and we used the hashtag MSMS for More Seats for More Students. And actually, if you search MSMS, it's there's a number of different things on there. It started out as just a hashtag for us, and then other people started using it for other things. So.
Other people who didn't search for us.
They didn't do their homework first, right?
Another thing that I was going to say that's really foundational when you think of content, especially for those departments that are hesitant and don't really have experience in what content to put out. A foundational thing that we have, and it's going to sound little, but it's a big deal, and it's the secret. It's your editorial calendar. If every single, well, we do it on Monday mornings, but whenever you decide to do it, once you sort of have a foundation, what are we going to put on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram? What are we going to email out? What news stories are we going to pitch? What, just all of your communications that happens during that week, do it by week. The conversations are going to begin. This would be good for Twitter. Oh, this is going on. The community really needs to know about this. This is exciting. I think this is going to be great. And once you start talking about this, and if you're a one-person show, just go ahead and find allies among the schools. They'll tell you what's going on today. You'll have 10 things. If you're a one-man show and you start calling 5 schools, you'll have plenty of content to go ahead and put out. It's just a matter of taking those 20 minutes and really planning out what you're going to put each week. once you do that, you can even schedule them in advance if you don't have that much time.
We share our editorial calendar with the executive leadership team, the superintendent,
Mhm.
and in addition to all the PR liaisons. So everybody operates from the same playbook. So we're all replicating central messages many times over. I always like to say one message, many voices.
Right. And you talk about that executive team, and we do have some superintendents and administrators on here today. I mean, how important is for them to be on board with what you're doing to make it successful?
It's foundational.
Yeah, it's part of the core of what we do. If we didn't have the buy-in from our top leaders, then I don't think our teachers and support staff would follow through and would follow into it.
It's all about transparency. It's really Twitter and Facebook, Instagram. It allows the community to come into your house. That's really what it is.
Mhm.
You're transparent. You tear down the walls, and we want that. We're proud of what's going on in our schools every single day. We have lots of good news to share, and if you don't share your news, somebody else will want to and will do it for you. So you need to be the one to do it. You're the one who knows best. So basically, just think of it, we're tearing down the walls. People get to look at us every single day. And the superintendent really wants that. He was actually the lead and the one who wanted that transparency, excitement, high expectations for our students. Our students are doing great things, and we want to showcase that.
Yeah, we've had, one of the stories I like to tell is that one of our schools, children go to one of our schools, their grandmother lives in Arizona, and she was following everything that was going on in her grandkids' class on Twitter. And she's commented on Twitter and wrote to her principal about it, how great it is that she can see this. And I tell that story to some teachers and other staff who are kind of cautious about using Twitter and wanting to doing the wrong thing or saying the wrong thing. When they hear that, they understand that it's a great tool and people can use it to watch family, to see what their family's doing if they live across the country.
Yeah.
So we talked a second ago about, holding these Twitter town halls or Twitter chats, and that was a question that came in prior to today. Can you really run down for us? I mean, how do you get a Twitter chat going? Do you publicize it ahead of time with the teasers and just hope people will join in at the date and time? Like, how does that work?
So yesterday, I guess we talked a little bit about this, but I met with a couple of teachers once Twitter took off last year who expressed an interest in starting our own school division Twitter chat. They are already out there, EdChat, VA, EdChat, Nova, EdChat. There are over 100 different types of education-focused Twitter chats going on every week. You can actually look it up online and find all of the different hashtags and times that people are meeting online to talk about their work. And so we knew that because we had sort of a momentum going on Twitter, that Twitter chats would be a perfect complement to everything else that we were doing and foster some internal communication. Now, one of the things that I'd like to get that we still don't have is a really functional intranet. And because of that, this was a nice workaround to allow staff to communicate with each other across a huge school division. So the teachers came up with a plan. They selected their own time, which is Tuesdays at 8 p.m., their own hashtag, APS chats. They set up their own website. They schedule their own moderators. A lot of times it's somebody who volunteers from our staff, but it also could be a guest moderator. I think one of the ones that we're really excited about is Daniel Pink will be our guest moderator at a March chat on his latest book and some of his work related to education. And we try to book some thought leaders across the country that we can connect with and ask questions of. So that happens every week. The superintendent advertises it in a voicemail to staff. He does a biweekly voicemail in advance of our employee newsletter going out every other Friday. And he mentions who's going to be on there and what the topic's about, encourages people to participate. It is on their own time. So there's been a little bit of hesitancy about the timing and do I have to do it? No, it's totally optional. A lot of people jump on because they see the benefit in doing so. And that's been very successful and they've just owned it. There hasn't been any special incentive or anything. It's just one of those things that has been a nice bonus to the Twitterverse growing, that people are able to connect and use this tool to foster their own professional development. And that's the way that a lot of our teachers look at it.
Sorry.
No,
Madison.
I was just going to say that once you really become part of a network, something that Jen did is that we had these little stickers that just said, we're going to try to show you one that said hashtag APS chats. And so when you go and visit, a school or just someone, you visit somebody's desk, you see that they have the little sticker, hashtag APS chats. And not only is it a conversation piece, but you really connect with each other. And then you have, that shared experience, that shared passion, that shared effort.
Oh, there it is. So those are just like up in the windows of the schools or by the desks or
people's
wherever.
desk and things like that. So it is really a network. It's very beneficial.
This is one of our professional learning networks, so our teachers do this, but we also do, we've also hosted Twitter chats for the community. I mentioned our More Seats process. We came up with the hashtag. We advertised that we were going to do a hashtag Friday at noon. So we did it over lunchtime. We figured that's the time most people are probably sitting stationary doing something rather than working, so they can follow Twitter. We advertised it, but one of the things that we did in advance is we took a couple of questions that we were hearing in the community to start the conversation.
Okay, that was my next question.
We had question number one, and we brought that in ourselves, and that got the Twitter chat going, and then people just started coming in after that, and we've had 150 to 200 questions in one sitting, one Twitter chat, and they usually last about an hour. So our facility staff was sitting in our office reading the questions and then coming up with an answer, which can be challenging because you've got to answer a question in 140 characters.
Well,
so a tweet or two tweets would answer a question. But it was very successful. We did a number of these, and we're planning one for a couple of weeks from now on our kindergarten information.
I was just going to say, it's actually going to be next Wednesday, January 13th. And today we're doing a press release that's going to go out because our kindergarten information night takes place on January 19th. In that press release that talks about the event on the 19th, we're going to put information to the community saying, hey, if you have questions about kindergarten, join us at 12:15 to 1 p.m. I got that time idea from you. I really did. So that's how we work. That's a good time frame. January 13th, which is a Wednesday, 12:15 to 1 p.m. Hashtag KInfo Night, NIGHT. And if you just go to Twitter at 12:15 and search hashtag KInfo Night, you can put in a question you have about kindergarten, and then we'll answer it. So you can see it. If you want to see how we do it, you can. Hopefully we'll have a lot of parents on there. And if not, if we only have a couple, that's okay too. But it's just a matter of trying it.
And do you do like I've seen it before, Q1 for question one. And then, so when people ask their questions, do they do that too? Or does it sometimes just skip?
This one, because it's just a chat, ask your questions at 12:15, as long as they use the hashtag, KInfoNight, they're going to just ask their question. Hey, I'm assuming it's going to be things like, what about lunch? How do I find out about, in hashtag KInfoNight? And we'll just answer it. And the way we'll answer it, you can see, we'll just include links, probably resource links to where they can find all of that information. I'm thinking that that's probably how it's going to go.
Right. Kind of those typical kindergarten parent. So this, someone kind of chimed in. So exactly, how do you start a Twitter chat? You basically decide that there's going to be an event, right? And a time frame, and you advertise that like you would an in-person event, but it's just going to take place on Twitter, right?
Correct.
So your very first tweet, if you're going to host your kindergarten chat, what's your first tweet going to be so that someone knows they're like in the conversation?
5 minutes before, we would say, hello, our kindergarten Twitter chat is going to start in 5 minutes. Give us your questions. Use hashtag KInfoNight. Yep. And then hopefully people will start doing that. And then we'll start answering them. And then at 1 o'clock when it's over, we're going to say, thank you for all of your questions. This is the end of our chat. We look forward to seeing you on January 19th at Kindergarten Information Night.
Yep. So and you just tell people to make sure they use that hashtag so that it all follows in.
Exactly. Otherwise, we'll miss it. We won't be able to see it. We'll miss it.
Okay. Well, we'll send out that hashtag too with that link to the social media matters too, so if people want to kind of follow in. And also, so we just had someone on a couple minutes ago give their hashtag for their Twitter chat coming up too. So that'll be kind of nice. We can all get acquainted with the Twitter chat. I've followed a few, but never actually done it myself, so that'll be good.
Oh, you gotta jump in. They're
Yes,
fun.
jump in, ask a question.
Well, in the kindergarten, that's awesome. I think that would be something that any school district could use.
I think
I know we're talking. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Holly, this one thing I wanted to add kind of to just think about is that if you've created a culture in your community that you're going to be responsive on social media, then people do buy into Twitter chats and two-way engagement. If you've created as a tool where you're just going to push information out and you're never going to favorite, retweet, respond to inquiries, then you're going to have a very difficult time starting that process. You have to see social media as a way to talk to people where they're at. And if you don't view it that way, if you just view it as another checkbox that you've got to, check off your list, then you're not going to be as successful, I think, as we have been in trying to engage the community using Twitter or Periscope or Facebook or Instagram or whatever else you're using. You have to view it as a way to talk to and with people.
Yep, it's a conversation, not just an information piece.
Just like answering the phone, we look at Twitter,
Right.
and we have more than 20 notifications every 5 minutes. And we just, we look through them, we favorite some, we favor some, we retweet some, but it's ongoing. It's just like the phone ringing.
Right. I want to get to Periscope in just a second, but kind of like switching gears a little bit and using social media and Twitter. Not everything's always happy all the time. Tragedies happen, crises happen. How do you see using that in starting hashtags or following hashtags or just sharing that type of information in those times of crisis or tragedy?
So knock on wood, we haven't had any major crises in our district that we've had to use social media for. But the couple of things we've we've used Twitter to say, Yorktown students have been evacuated. More information will be on School Talk later on, just to let people know that we're aware of it and we're gathering the information. But it can be used in a variety of ways. It can be used for emergency communications as another way to communicate with parents, because as you all know, kids have cell phones in the class and they start tweeting, they start texting, and all of a sudden all this misinformation gets out there. So it's another way to kind of keep ahead of what's going on in your school system. But if there's a tragedy in your school system, we talked about this yesterday with when we were meeting briefly, is there's a suicide of a student in a school and a hashtag is created. What do we do? We had this happen earlier in the year. A student at one of our high schools committed suicide. The school community itself came up with a hashtag, and they had a vigil one evening for the student, and they used that hashtag, and we supported them. We didn't talk to them about it. We didn't help them come up with it. They did it on their own. It was theirs. We just supported them in that. And I think that's what we do as our school community relations team, is we support our schools in what they want to do and what's unique to their own community. Mm-hmm. So if they want to come up with it, then they use it, and we just follow along with them.
So they kind of lead that discussion, and obviously it's got to be appropriate, but if it is appropriate, then you'll support that by retweeting or.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we've also had things happen on Twitter. We've had a couple of times where we had to shut down accounts because they were bullying. They bullied a community that had a suicide. We were quick to find it and asked Twitter to stop this account, and they did. Last year, we had a student who created a fake district parody account and was tweeting wrong information about inclement weather, and actually got local media to follow what he said versus what we said. So he said we closed, and we actually hadn't made a decision yet, and media reporting that. So we were able to get on, we were able to get to Twitter and have him stopped. And then we found out through his classmates and his principal who it was, and it was some discipline action taken that way. But we're always monitoring it. So there's steps you can take through Twitter itself to stop some of those accounts.
And at the very beginning, and this actually was on the Washington Post, we had maybe 12 Twitter postings by students where they were using profanity. And it was, 12 was way too many for us, among hundreds and hundreds. And so Jen created the hashtag keep it clean, or we will block you. And Washington Post picked it up, felt like it was a story, and it was. But basically, again, we're opening our house. If you're going to come into our house and use profanity, we're not going to allow it. It's the same idea.
There's rules.
Yeah.
Speaking kind of on those same lines, we had a question come in. If you're in a Twitter chat and you get some inappropriate questions or ones that you want, like, how do you handle that?
The same way. I mean, you can block, you can,
Mute them.
mute. Yes, I'm sorry.
We mute.
We mute them. A lot of the times, if they're not really using profanity and they're really just giving out their opinion,
Right.
it's their opinion.
Mhm.
You let it go. You don't engage. If somebody has an opinion that's completely against what everybody else is thinking, don't engage with them.
Right.
Usually the community will deal with them and you don't
Yeah.
have to. And I think also I've always trained folks that if people are asking an honest, direct question, you answer it. If they're spreading misinformation, you clarify it, but you don't have to engage with every troll. And we don't, quite frankly, have too many that take it to that level, that need to be acknowledged by being outrageous. So we're very fortunate, I would say.
Here's a question from Jessica. Do you have a recommendation on original posts versus retweets? Do retweets count as valid posts to followers?
Yes, they do.
They do.
Original posts better?
We have our main district Twitter account, but we also have over 500 Twitter accounts associated with it. And by that, I mean teachers, principals, assistant principals, departments, the school board. And some of those don't have the followers yet that our district site does. So it's helpful to them for us to go in and retweet and favorite, because then our followers see them and they're more likely to follow that person as well. So it's as important as just a regular tweet. And we go through Twitter every day, multiple times a day, and see what's there, and we'll favorite somebody, we'll retweet somebody, because it's their content, and some of it, and a lot of it is very good. And we want our followers to see that. And we might have some in common, but there might be some that they have that we don't, or we have that they don't, and that helps.
And just to give you an idea, in our editorial calendar, we figure out what messages are going to come from the county. Just to give you an idea, this week was the Martin Luther King essay winners that we had. That was a district one that we put out. We're going to put out information on kindergarten information night. That's countywide. We're going to put information out on course selections that is happening across the middle schools. So we have things that we are going to tweet. And that's going to be we have maybe 10 big messages a week that we know we're going to put out on Twitter. So we're going to do that anyway. But then the other 30 are going to probably be retweets. Yeah.
When you, just real quick on the chats, when somebody puts a question out there and it doesn't have that Q1 or, whatever it might be, do you reply to that tweet or do you start a new tweet
So
to answer the question?
So when you are in the APS chats and for a particular topic, you have to use the hashtag because people are looking, when you go to the Twitter and you put hashtag whatever, it only filters that conversation. So if somebody doesn't use that hashtag, nobody's going to see that conversation. Now, if I'm the moderator and I put question 1, what is your, what have you? People should put answer 1. But if people don't put answer 1, but they use the hashtag, you'll still see it. That's great. You can favorite, you can retweet and then put your response there. You can reply to the tweet and everybody will be able to see it.
I think I should also mention here that we use a product called NURPH, N-U-R-P-H, and that allows the hashtag to be automatically added to every tweet that you post. And it also threads the entire conversations together. So you won't have to rely on TweetDeck or some other mechanism to do that. So the link goes out with the chat announcement. So people just log on through Nerf, and then it's like seeing a whole thread. And it's much easier to follow the conversation than just.
And what was that again?
Nerf, NURPH.
Okay.
So it's a tool that Josh McLaughlin, who's one of our peer liaisons and one of the co-founders of APS Chats, he's a teacher at one of our elementary schools. So he runs that, and he tracked down this particular tool to run our chats with.
It's really easy. So if you go to nerf.com and then you do hashtag APS chats, for example, you'll get into that channel. So the hashtag becomes a channel. And the cool thing is that when you kind of log in with your Twitter account, you log in using your Twitter account, it'll say, you know, Jen Harris has joined in. So then you can say, hi, Jen.
You see everybody chatting at once. Basically, I'll send you the link, but it's NURPH.com/APS chats, and you can see every chat we've had. You can click on it and see, you can watch a video replay of any chat that we've held in the past. So people who miss out on the live chat will still be able to see the history of all of the chats that have occurred. So it's a really great tool.
And you can create
awesome.
your own chat.
Okay.
You can use it for your purposes.
Okay. So we've hit 1 o'clock, but if those of you who are willing to stay on the line real quick, there's 2 things I want to get to. First, we just got a question. How do you spread out your tweets? Sometimes you'll see people and they do like 10 tweets at one time. Should you spread them out? Like what's your game plan there?
Yeah.
We don't have a great
We
strategy.
don't actually have a strategy for this.
You try to spread them out.
We try to spread them out as much as possible. You know, the great thing with Twitter is you can tweet as much as you want, because the way people log in and look at timelines, they're not going to see everything. But so you don't want to be tweeting once a day because somebody might miss it. But the other thing we do is we use Hootsuite to schedule our tweets. Which helps kind of take the pressure off, just in case we're not able to be on Twitter and do something. We know that a tweet is scheduled for a certain time, and
we did that during winter break.
Yeah, we scheduled stuff through. And Hootsuite, you can use Facebook. You can set stuff for Facebook and Twitter, and it's a free. Their basic site is free to use. But we don't actually really have a strategy for how often or how infrequent we tweet.
We just say, what time is yours going out?
What time should I post this?
But try to spread them out throughout the day. Obviously.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and real quickly before we go, Periscope. That's the new what that everybody's doing. Yes,
Periscope.
We're all over Periscope. How do you use it and how often?
We use it, we have different accounts, but the Arlington Public Schools account I'll focus on real quick. If we have big events, for example, we went to a school, they're focusing on science, STEM. They had a really cool event where they were, dropping an egg to see if it broke, and that was so fun. And it was the whole school. So we go to big events like that, walk and bike to school day. But I also use it as a family engagement specialist to talk about tips around family engagement. And then I talk about some of the things that I do. And then I talk about our families that way and the targeted communications. And then families see themselves in that. We use it to network with other schools, sort of open up the classroom so that parents can see what's going on in the classroom. One thing is staff. Staff love to see what's going on in each school. Our assistant principals use it, again, for the same purposes, for concerts, for events, for classrooms.
We joined up with Periscope 3 days after it launched last spring. We've been using it ever since. We use it for a lot of different things. Some things work and some things don't. And you just have to experiment with it. But one of the things we asked is, before winter break, we asked our schools to think about using Periscope to broadcast their winter concerts for family members who couldn't be there to actually see it. And we asked them to send out an email to their families saying, we're going to be Periscoping this. This is how you find us. And, watch Twitter, watch for it, and then click on it, and you can watch it right from your desktop. And that's what they were doing. And we found a great resource, a great website catch.me, KATCH.me, that will actually archive all of your Periscopes for you, free of charge. It's and it does the whole thing, the hearts, the comments, everything, so you can see your full broadcast. And we can use that to replay later on in other platforms. Twitter.
So people can see it if they can't join live.
And I just found out, and I forgot to tell you this, Frank, you're my researcher on staff. He tells us about all the latest and greatest, but fullscope.tv will also give you all your detailed statistics about your Periscope users, the people who give you hearts, how long they tune in. And we really like data. So I think one final comment I'll say on this, because it doesn't seem like it's strategic in some ways, but it really is, because we look at the data all the time. What's engaging our families? What are they following? What are they interested in? And we use the data to inform us of that. You know, we look at the information and the reports. I think she was a former reporter and she just didn't know it in the past life. You got to find the talents of your team. People aren't going to be good at, you know, every single thing. Frank's great at finding the latest and greatest and bringing it to our attention. And we have discussions at our editorial meetings. Should we try this technology? Should we use it? What's a better app to produce whatever? So we're always talking about those things. So he's kind of looking at that angle. Gladys is great in front of the camera. When she turns on Periscope, you feel like you're having a conversation with her, whether she's in front of the egg drop or she's talking with the principal or she's out at a school observing something. She gets on the camera first and tells you that she's here and this is what we're doing. She did that a lot on the first day of school. We went to a lot of different schools and did interviews on the spot, and she did a lot of them. So I will send you the link for our Catch account so you can see the full archive of all of our Periscope videos. But you'll see she's very talented at engaging with people across the screen and making them feel like they're a part of what's going on wherever she's at. I'm the data geek, so I love to look at data and see what's driving everything. And I've never seen a piece of data that I didn't like or want to think about and analyze and use to our benefit. So I think a lot about that stuff. And so we all have our talents that contribute. So one woman show could be challenging, but on our team, because we have these different strengths, we've been able to leverage them to make it a very great success story for our district. One
thing I would add on, I know time is short, but the one thing I want to add, if you're cautious about starting and you're not sure how it will benefit your school system, we have one of our elementary schools has a pretty high Hispanic population. And as you know, sometimes it's hard to reach those families and communicate with them. Last year, they sat down with their Hispanic families and talked to them about Twitter. And then they went to the next step of setting up email accounts and Twitter accounts for them. And research shows that Hispanics are one of the high populations that have cell phones, and set up Twitter for them. And they have been able to reach a population that they haven't reached in the past with Twitter. And moms are sitting there, they're tweeting, they're reading Twitter a lot.
They tweet a lot.
And they're doing it in Spanish, and it's great. They're able to target their families like some of our other schools can't yet. And so we're trying to replicate that at our other schools. So,
that's a great question. Why Twitter over Facebook? Because Twitter is timely and Facebook is timeless. Facebook is very personal. What do you see on Facebook? You see cats, you see food, you see pictures of babies, you see pictures of families, you don't see the news stories. On Twitter, that's what you see. You see what's going on today, right now. You see news articles, you see professional development, chats, you see, and that's why we use it, because Twitter is timely. You get timely news. And that was a great question. And whomever did it.
And you can connect through the power of the hashtag, which we find to be incredibly useful on Twitter, not so much on Facebook. That's not to say that we're not going to use Facebook. We've already tested live streaming. We did that on Christmas Eve as a team because we're really geeks and we like this kind of stuff. And we have a whole plan for how we're going to try to live stream in the new year from Facebook. We have a good following on Facebook as well. It's just that we find the power of the hashtag and connecting and engaging in a two-way conversation to be quite powerful on Twitter. And you see it, you can't turn anywhere without seeing a hashtag these days. Turn on your television, look at advertising. It's a culture out there that we're taking advantage of and leveraging.
We use both platforms too, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We use Facebook every day too.
They're different conversations, right?
Yeah.
Real quickly in the Periscope, if you record if you're periscoping a concert, does that mess with any of the music rights? Do you know?
Well, so with music rights, what can I say? If we're gonna put something out on YouTube,
We can't do it.
we cannot do it.
Right.
YouTube will block it.
YouTube will block it. But with Twitter, a lot of the concerts are their own, you know, they already have the rights to it in
Mhm.
rules.
So because your show has the rights to it, you're just showing that live instead of.
Live, exactly, because
Okay.
it's a public show, you know, anyway. On Twitter, you probably can't, especially if you don't have the rights to it.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay, we have a couple other questions coming in. I'm going to tell everybody to take those questions to Twitter. Use the
Okay.
We'll
hashtag.
answer them with the hashtag.
we'll answer them.
All right, hashtag SCN Luncheonar. You guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Tons of great information. It was a lot of fun.
Bye.
I appreciate it. And let me tell everybody, in February, we're going to talk with Kelly Middleton, the superintendent of Newport, Kentucky schools, and we're going to be talking customer service. It's winter up here, and the snow's coming, and people get angry. So customer service would be a nice thing.
We've done that.
They do here too.
to chat about. So that will be on February 3rd, again from 12:15 to 1. And when we get all the links and stuff from Jen and her team, we will send that out to every participant as well. So thank you everybody for joining us. Jen, Gladys, and Frank, thanks again.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Everybody have a great day.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.